Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Clock Hour. I am your host, Marv Kennel. I have a very, very special guest, and I'm going to express very, very special guest with me today, Mr. Thomas Lewis. As a matter of fact, this is my family. I'd like y'all to meet him, and he came on and talk about a few things with me. And so how you doing, my brother?
Blessed, cuz, blessed, man. Taking it day by day, man.
That's it. Most of the time my show is really about the people, and you're part of the people.
Facts.
I know you've been through the system and everything. Nowadays, I kind of see that they're kind of glorifying it.
Yeah.
How much time did you give the system?
I want to say I gave the system approximately 11 years inside of prison. And, I'm still on parole as we speak, so the time is still going, so.
Right. I have to ask, like, I worked for the system. I worked for state, I worked for federal. With them glorifying the system, is it something to glorify, man? Like I see some of the videos and stuff with the kids, they're in there like it's a party, man.
Honestly, it's nothing to glorify because regardless of what, when you inside, automatically your time stops. So while you in there, everybody out here is still living their day-to-day life, and you become a memory. So I really don't think that anything should be glorified when you're being in prison, especially when you're stuck being told what to do, having to live how they want you to live, and do things how you want to do things, like how they want you to do things, and it's a horrible situation.
Right. And I'm former military, and I used to be on subs. So the isolation ain't the same, but the isolation is isolation. You know what I mean? You're away 3-4 months. I was on subs, so I was underwater, no contact. So I can't compare it to that, but I can compare it to that with the quote unquote isolation.
Honestly, from my perspective, I really think that regardless of how you look at it, it's the same thing because you're still, taken away from your daily life, put in a position to do what you're told and how they want you to do it, and you're either in a base or a compound. So, I kind of put it in the same predicament, just different circumstances.
True. Okay, I could deal with that. So you've been all over the state and their system, or
Man, I've been damn near to every prison in Connecticut, man. So, yeah, definitely all over this state. Nowhere else but
right?
Connecticut.
Let me ask you this: what took you there?
My ignorance. When you're living a certain type of lifestyle and you're put in position to make certain decisions, it gets to the point where the life that I was living, the negative decision was the right decision for the way I was living.
Right.
So
You started early. How old?
I ended up being in the street at the age of 14, 15 due to a family situation with my mom's, and it forced me to start making decisions at a young age that, landed me on that path.
Okay. So 14, 15, you're out there
Yeah,
completely,
yeah,
and you're making decisions as an adult at 14, 15.
yeah,
That's deep.
yeah. I was forced to, I was basically forced to become a man in the years that I was supposed to be enjoying the last bit of my youth.
Right.
And, you know, of course, you can understand that making certain decisions at that age when you're not even really capable of, you know, being out here surviving on your own, it tended to lean towards more negativity than anything due to, you know, the lifestyle, the friends, and my environment.
Right. And you know, I was into music, and not to speak on anybody in particular, but it was almost like I had this artist, and it was almost like his growth got stunted. Like, you know, the maturity level,
Yeah.
you know, and what I expected from someone that age, I couldn't get it
Yeah.
based on the time that they did. And then it's almost like your time stops, and then you continue on from that where your time stopped.
Yeah, that's
Is
exactly
that
what it is.
that's what it is?
That's exactly what it
Because
is.
I couldn't get it.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, we don't do that.
Yeah.
You know, you figure if someone gets locked up at, correct me if I'm wrong, if someone gets locked up at, say for instance, 17, and then they get out there 25,
They're still 17.
they're still 17?
They're still 17. Granted, give a year or two, 19.
Right. Okay. I thought that's what it was. Because you know what? You know, I worked at the federal. And if I wasn't around, they would make staff call me to give them lessons on what they might have seen on TV and what's going on. And you know, they said, yo, Kay,
Yeah.
you got to come down here. Got questions. They had questions. Well, what about this? What about that? What about this? You know what I mean? It's fair. I don't know how state operate. I do know a few state CEOs, but I don't know how they operate. I didn't treat anybody like a prisoner unless it warranted.
Yeah, sure indeed.
First of all, I told a person this, man. I got like 20, 21, 22 years in the system.
Yeah.
I never wanted to work there.
Yeah.
I never wanted to work in that environment, but it was not about me. They say, quote unquote, corrections. I say, well, if I can change the dynamics of one, I did my job.
Sure indeed.
Or two,
Sure indeed.
you know, and I had to realize it wasn't about me. You know what I mean? And these brothers, they would ask me, well, what's this? Who is this? How do I do this? What do you think about this? And I give them my perspective.
Yeah.
I don't know whether the state cats did any of that, but I think they should have.
Sure indeed.
You know, there was a young man, he was from Philly. He told me, my grandmother sold drugs, my mama sold drugs, my father sold drugs, I sold drugs. I looked at him and I was like, don't you want to break the cycle?
Shit, he was born into it.
Yeah,
So he was a drug dealer before he was even thought of.
right.
Yeah. It's like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that.
You know, and you know, somebody has said to him, you'll be back.
I mean, when it comes to my perspective, when it comes to people saying, well, a CEO or any type of official or worker, when it comes to corrections, when they say you'll be back, I think they're paying more attention to how the person is living and acting while he's incarcerated. You know, when I was in prison, my last bid, I mean, if I go back to when I was at NYI,
Right.
and I was a youth, I was more mature than most of the younger crowd because, you know, like I said, I started early, and I hung around nothing but the older crowd.
Right.
I was a little bit more in tune with myself, and having to play a certain position while I'm incarcerated around all these young dudes.
Right.
But if you pay attention to these 16, 17, 18-year-old kids that's running around there, I mean, what you think you're going to get when you put a bunch of young kids boxed in a situation, locked down, 23-1, with no connection or ties to their daily life? You're going to get, I was about to swear, but I ain't going to swear. You're going to get a messed up situation. You know, a bunch of firecrackers lit, ready to explode. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I get off that. But then when you get us and the older crowd, the adults, put in a situation like that, you tend to see some that actually is doing the time, getting themselves together,
Right.
Focusing on how to come home and be productive and not just be another statistic stuck in the system.
Right.
And then you got the other group that's just basically doing their time waiting to get out, not doing nothing to better themselves.
Right.
So if that CEO had told that person that was because he probably wasn't in there doing what he was supposed to do to better himself, and he seen that he was stuck in his ignorance or his negativity.
You know, and that's funny you say that, because some of them still talk to me.
Yeah.
You know, I look past that because I know where I come from.
Of course.
I look past, the little rah-rah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was a young man, and this was me. And I had a little bit of seniority, so I wasn't trying to hire no young cats. I worked in food service. I wasn't trying to hire no young cats in there because they'd be on some wild shit. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yo, man, somebody talk to him, because he ain't listening to what I got to say. He all over the place and doing nothing. So we sat him down. My man spoke to him and let him know, like, X, Y to the Z, to get him in order. Yeah. Either you're going to get in line or you're going to get lost.
Yeah.
And I ain't going to repeat what he said, but, it woke him up.
Yeah.
Homeboy had to quit. He quit. Because if you quit, that means you was still on that nonsense.
Yeah.
And we didn't need you around there. I said, man, I ain't come here to babysit, man.
Yeah, sure do.
Look, we got a job to do. And I always said we, because I looked at them like my brothers, my cousins, and it was women too. So my sisters, my aunts, my uncle, my grandmothers, and all that.
Yeah.
When I first got there, it was all women. And that was a culture shock, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And you figured some of these were locked up from the whole crack era thing.
Yeah.
Some famous names and stuff, man. So it was really an adjustment. But I always wanted to see someone step out of there and be successful, productive, whatever they, taking care of their family. I always wanted to see that.
Yeah.
So, that's why I asked you. I'm like, yo, come on and talk to these people, man, because I don't think a lot of people still get it.
Yeah.
Looking around Waterbury, and it's like, some of y'all don't get it.
Well, I mean, they don't get it. If you see a person that's spent time in prison, come home, and is basically doing the same things that he was doing prior to him being incarcerated, then yeah, he doesn't get it. He's basically trying to catch back up where he left off at, and he's stuck in a place in a mindset that is basically in the past. And
Right.
So but honestly, it goes with a person's situation also. If a person's in a great situation with a old mindset, what you think is gonna happen with that?
True.
He's gonna destroy his situation.
True.
But if you have a person that's actually coming home and taking the steps and putting in the work and training itself to make the transition into becoming a productive citizen, or being a better person, then you just gotta, how you say it,
Man up.
man up. Yeah.
And my thing, if you have kids, You got kids?
Of course.
So, you know, and here was my thought. I have one son. I never wanted him to look outside of the house for a role model. That was a level of arrogance, confidence, and I knew that I could teach him better than the next man could.
Sure did.
So that was one reason, you know, and I think I met your son the other day, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's not about you no more.
No. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna sit here and act like
Nah.
I've been the perfect father, because I haven't.
Nah. It's hard to be. You can't be.
When I went to prison, I was still young in the mind, still living a certain type of way. And, I basically had to take classes in jail just to prepare myself to come home to be a father. I came home and, it's just making a transition back into society was overwhelming. It was hard. So I went to basically dealing with things how I always dealt with things. And it kind of isolated me and kept me away from, both my children. And, trust me when I tell you, I feel horrible about it. But now it's like, as time goes on and I've been out here as long as I've been out here, I'm actually growing. So now it's like I'm bringing the kids together and I'm learning how to be a father now, So it's like, it's just all on what you want to do and how you want to do it.
Right.
Know?
And like I said, it's not about us anymore. Once we get kids, it's like, okay, I can't leave and just, I can now, but I couldn't leave and just go to Japan. I couldn't leave and just go to the West Coast. I couldn't, his mother passed, so I had to, step up. Yeah, that was different. So I couldn't leave like I wanted to because I couldn't leave him. It was a trip. So, it's just one of those things, but I understand the game, and if I had to, what I would do. You know what I mean? I understand it, respect it. I don't knock nobody hustle, but, I know it's not about me. It wasn't about me anymore. You know what I mean? Because that'll be, think it's selfish, but, we got work to do out here, man. Because it's a little wild out here right now. And you hate to see it, but you see it just in them driving. You'd be like, yo, where you going, man? Where you going? You on my bumper, and where you going, homeboy? I'm gonna see you at the next light. Where you going? I even coming in from New Haven, and you got the right hand lane that turns around to take you to
New York.
No, when you're coming down the hill from 69 from New Haven, that right hand turn takes you to Reedville Drive.
Yep.
Right? People get in that right lane and beat them at the light and take off now.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. We wasn't doing that.
It's GTA with driving.
Yo, man.
You gotta look at it that with this generation, I mean, it's 2023, this generation, a lot of the youth that's driving came up in the era of GTA. So everything they do is a result of how they was driving in the game. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? My son, he got his PlayStations and stuff. But when he was younger, I bought the Xbox. And I thought it was a bonding tool.
Yeah, that's one day.
You know what I mean? We play and, I wasn't that good anyway. But it didn't get that much attention. I thought I look at that as a babysitting tool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's one day. I mean, for the most part, Lil Cuz had a blessing to even have you to even want to, sit down and play the game. I mean, granted, I didn't have either parents to sit back and do anything with me. So, I guess it was just you caught him in a time of his transition from kid to teenager to and he just got caught up with the times and what was going on. So
Right.
it's not really your fault. It's just the process
I
that
had to pay attention.
yeah, it's just a process that basically you got to follow.
Right. And you know, from my time, the worst thing you could do to us was tell us we couldn't go outside.
Yeah.
What, man? That was like the worst. You're looking out the window.
Yeah.
You know, I'm Fairmont Bucks Hill.
Yeah.
Looking out the window and I can't go outside. Oh my God, that's gonna kill me.
Yeah, I hated sitting in the house playing the game.
Right.
For the most part, I needed to be outside.
That's where we come from. You know what I mean? And that was like the worst punishment.
Yeah, true indeed.
Because you felt like you missed everything that day.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
What happened? Oh man, you missed it. What do you mean I missed it? I had to stay in the house.
Yeah.
Now, you leave them in the house, they cool.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, this generation, the kids are stuck on the game. So you have a lot of kids that, you know, would rather be in the house, being on the game and, you know, dealing with their friends virtually
Right.
than actually being out in the physical, doing stuff in the street. I mean, how the times is now, I mean, that's kind of like the best option because
Yeah.
your kid could be outside just enjoying himself with his peoples and can catch a bullet
Yeah.
just like that.
Right.
And it wasn't even meant for him.
And you know what's funny too? I wanted to know what was going on. So I signed up to be a sub.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the class. I said, I would tell them at the beginning of the class, look here, if you don't want to be here, get out before the door closed.
Yeah.
I said, once that door closed, you in here. I don't need all the rah-rah, nothing like that. And you know, you sit and you look at it, and everybody's head down like that. And so if I get one or two attention, I'll explain some stuff to them. And then they be looking at me like I have three heads. And then I say, well, Google this. Google that. I went to Central High School, Little Rock, Arkansas. When they were doing the desegregation of schools, that was a big one.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see it.
Yeah.
I went to see it. And so I'm explaining it to some of the kids. I forget what school I was at. And they're looking at me like, what? I say, look it up. Google this. You have a smart computer in your hand.
Yeah.
Supercomputer, really. And it was just being able to interject that little bit. I may not keep their attention, but this is where I come from.
Yeah,
this is a jewel. Let me do at least something to say that I wasn't just sitting there the whole day.
Yeah.
And some of the students, they would come see me. A couple kids from Kennedy and I went to Wilby. I was disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, you got to look at it though now. It's the day and age of technology,
Right.
social media, you know, TikTok and so on and so forth.
Right.
So, I mean, you can't really blame the kids for
No,
being
I
stuck
don't.
in their phone and, you know, really not paying attention. I mean, that's just how society has made it nowadays. You know?
Right.
Back then, we had books. Back then, you had no choice but to sit back and do what you do.
Right.
So now they just put
Man.
everything digitally.
I would have looked like a genius if I had one of those.
Man, listen.
I would have passed everything.
Man.
We would have figured out a way to cheat, put the earbuds in and everything.
Let me tell you something. if I had what they have now, I think that I would be so successful
Right.
in everything that I would have done because, you know, I was able to do my own advertising. You know?
Right.
If we had Google in school
Right.
back in 99 to 2003,
Right.
it was impossible for you not to get an A.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's impossible for you not to be an honor student.
Right.
I think I would end up being valedictorian. If it was
See?
that.
Right. If I would have had access to, I was like, man, if I would have had this, that's like now I'll be like, okay, you don't know what you're talking about. Why? And you can go find it.
You got the answers right there on your phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's no type of formal training anymore. Everything is just handed to you on a platter. So kids don't have the opportunity to go and read and study. They're basically taking the books out of the school,
Right.
out of the system.
They
Pretty
are.
soon there won't be no more books. It'll be straight tablets and a projector screen for you to sit back and focus on in the classroom. You know
That's
what
what
I'm
they're
saying?
doing.
Yeah, so it's like it's a horrible situation, but it's like they have no choice but to adapt to the times. I mean, like I said, if we had that back then, I don't
Right.
think that it would have been possible for, me to fail. I can't
Right.
really speak on anybody else, but
Right.
I know I would have been successful if I would have had what they have now.
Right.
You know?
Well, I mean, one thing. Let me get to this real quick. We got about a couple minutes left. What do you want to do, or what are you trying to do to help change the course of some people?
Well, I had already started coaching football and basketball. I'm at 20 years after my time with playing with the Knights, I ended up coaching. So that was a big thing for me.
All right.
And I was coaching basketball for a while. I had to step back due to, some technical
Yeah.
personal issues that I was dealing with that I had to get together before I made my decision to move forward.
Okay.
But now I'm focused on going. I want to start a career in motivational speaking and life coaching.
Okay.
So that's what I'm focused on now.
So I'm gonna put your information up,
Definitely.
all your information, and so people can reach out to you, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on board and letting people know.
You know the vibes.
Yeah, this is my cuz right here. This is my cuz.
Peace and
And
blessings.
I was glad that me and you had a conversation. I appreciate it. I was like, wait a minute. Come on, let's
Facts.
go. We're going to get you out there and get your name out there and get people hollering at you. And
I appreciate it.
that's what we're going to do. And I appreciate you stopping by.
You already know, fam.
All good. Thanks for tuning in. Another episode of the Klock Hour. Stay tuned for the people, by the people, about the people. All right? Peace.